This trip inspired me a little bit, and we were talking to Bashar too a couple nights ago about the idea of extended stay, and it's like so taboo because that's opportunity because there's really no.
Well, extended stay is super. You might as well be staying in a hospital room, right? It's hard. There's nothing interesting or unique about it.
Yeah.
But it's really good for families.
Yeah.
Right. So when we travel, if we don't generally stay in extended stay stuff, but if we could have a stove and a refrigerator, or a real refrigerator in every room, our life would be so much better.
I mean, if it wasn't called extended stay, I would stay in it. If it was called, this is a comfortable place for your family to stay, come enjoy with us and have less stress.
That's a good, concise brand statement.
Yeah.
Right.
So the brand, it's the language that almost kind of throws it off.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Well, what's the connotation?
Extended stay America.
And it's corporate, and you're traveling,
You're a travel
and it's low
nurse.
rate.
Yeah.
Not that those are bad things, right?
No bad things.
They all things serve a purpose.
Okay.
But yeah, talking about our trip a little bit, we have, and also being here, I always look for that little moment of inspiration, or try to take something away from whatever we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
There were a few nuggets here, and then on our trip, we stayed at Dawn Ranch,
Okay.
which is up in Guerneville, where there's an auto camp, and it's a really cool, funky area. And
really cool, funky. Also, as we were driving through, I'm like, oh, there's some stuff that goes down here. So really cool, funky balance with like, whoa, I've never seen so many abandoned pickup trucks in my whole life. California.
Yeah, it's almost like New Hampshire of California.
Yeah. It's a very, it's you don't know what you're gonna get. Guerneville was on the map for us. Like it kept on showing up as a place that I maybe had to see in Northern California.
Yeah.
But since I've been to California before, I wasn't like necessarily turned off by it. But it's really
a cool
interesting.
kind of a cabin resort, roadside, but also riverside, and directly adjacent to downtown. And we're in the process of continuing to develop our AWOL brand, which is like one of the brand tenets is it feels like you're in the middle of nowhere, but you're close to everything. And while this particular probably didn't have the same aesthetic as AWOL, it made me feel like it was kind of like the best of both worlds, and made me think on that a little bit. It was family friendly, but not family focused. And they had good F&B, really good restaurant.
But when you say family friendly, yeah.
Well, I guess they had cool lawn games for the family. There were places for Bobby to run around. They had luggage wagons, which became his center of his universe. But they did the refrigerator was too small.
The GM told him not to take more than one luggage rack.
Well, you can't take more than one anyway.
I'm curious do you see an opportunity here? Because some people are saying like, hey, people don't think about traveling with kids enough, and families aren't catered to. Do you agree with that sentiment, or do you feel like okay?
So much.
And it's not the type, there are places to go with your family. You can go to beaches in Turks and Caicos. It's all about family. But it's not about great adult experience at those places. It's about keeping your kids entertained.
Yeah, it's either all or nothing at this point. And we've discovered that even more on our trip through California because it was very hard. It's not only is it hard to find the correct sleeping arrangement, which is like the absolute basic when you're traveling with family, it's then hard to, for example, Dawn Ranch, it was beautiful. It was a beautiful restaurant, but it was a little bit, and our son, we'll take him to a nice, but it was just a little much after a day driving from Mendocino and having him sit down at a fine dining white tablecloth situation was
but that was sort of on us. But yeah, so that's one of the things we try to think about with our Bluebird brand. It's evolved a little bit from an adventure brand into a family brand, and trying to accommodate families in different bed configurations. So is there a king bed and a comfortable day bed, or does every king room adjoin to a double queen? Is there a microwave? And these are stupid things, but is there a microwave and a refrigerator? The refrigerator has to be big enough. Yeah. Is there a freezer? Our guy has diabetes, so we need to keep things cold for him.
Yeah.
And so it's not out there.
It's interesting though, because I feel like I got so much feedback when we recorded and we published our episode, because people loved the detail that you kind of thought about things, the creativity around that. And so I'm curious about the creative process, because you're out here in California, you're attending a conference, but it's not just gonna be about the conference. You say, hey, let's add a little bit of travel around this. Kind of, how do you think about where you go, where you stay? How do you do the research?
Okay, so first of all,
I'm a big researcher.
This was a budget-focused trip, right? And when you come to Napa, and Northern California budget is hard to keep. We were coming because of the conference, because Meg was speaking, and she was like, Rob, you want to go? We can't leave our son behind because he's a new diabetic. And so we're like, how are we going to do this trip with a 4-year-old and still try to have adult time on a budget?
That's a hard thing to solve for.
Yeah, it really, we didn't solve for it. And I think it made us think even more.
We solved for pieces of it, though.
Pieces that we've had, there were elements that we patched together that felt great along the way. We stayed at Calistoga Motor Lodge, which I had stayed at in the past, and I wanted to return just because I like the location mostly. And I know what I'm getting. It's casual, it's cute.
It's well located. It's like in a good, perfect spot. They have a pool, they have a restaurant.
Yeah, so that place in terms of like family friendly, that was the most family friendly and the best value that we found. But it wasn't, there were fewer conveniences than I would have hoped for.
I think one thing that's kind of cool about how Meg researches, so we were staying at a hotel that was more value focused with our son, and it was our anniversary. And so we were at Calistoga Motor Lodge, but we booked a day pass at Stanley Ranch, which is in Auberge. Yeah. So we love that brand. We love Auberge. We think they think of everything. We definitely would have stayed there, but it's a budget trip. So so we took a day and we went down to Stanley Ranch, and Bobby was with a babysitter. And so that's sort of how we made a little bit of vacation. We have had babysitters along the way, made some vacation and researched places we could spend time together or we knew about outside of our time with Bobby. And
while we were there at Stanley Ranch, the light bulb sort of went off. I think it was for you, where you were like, it would make sense for more hotels to actually utilize resort. Oh, it was Resort Pass. I don't remember if we said that. To actually utilize Resort Pass as an amenity rather than a competition. And so that was one of our light bulb moments along the trip. I think how can we do that as a limited service brand? How can we provide some of those things? But also just sort of noticing along the way all the different ways that our trip could have been more seamless, especially as we're trying to build this brand called Bluebird, and we're doing the trip that we're trying to alleviate the pain for these travelers, and so it really helped us. Yeah,
we're trying to help people create like good positive memories without some of the pain points along the way, and that means having the appropriate things when you get to a property.
No matter what time.
Right. No matter what time, things available, sleeping configurations, having things ready, and the Resort Pass thing is a really good point. It's a little bit different from the Bluebird component. But we were looking at a property in downtown Napa that we're hoping to bring in, and it's amenity free. It's a place to stay, but we were thinking Stanley Ranch is all of 15 minutes from there. If we could promote Stanley Ranch and the amenities they have, but the core stay of downtown Napa and the access to all the tasting rooms that are right there, walking distance, could be a great partnership.
This is why I love talking with people, because you have fresh takes on this. Everyone is so competitive. They think about this little kind of like, this is my business, you can't interact. I've heard nobody talk about this.
Well,
like, how do you work with a big...
Yeah. We know what we do well, but we also know what we like, and we know that what we're not going to get into. And Stanley Ranch, I'm sorry, is the most spectacular thing I've ever seen.
I'm sure they would love you saying that, so I don't think there's...
It is spectacular. I mean...
What blows you away? Because I'm curious, you set foot on a property like this. You
both
have seen it all. Like, are you looking for something specific, or are you looking for how you feel? Like, how do you step onto a new property, or not a new property, but a property like that?
I mean, as designers, Rob and I are we park and we start walking, and we're like, those trees cost $20,000 each to plant.
Yeah, right.
Because they're bigger.
We know, because we put in the $3,000 trees, right?
It's true, we do.
They grow.
It's embarrassing. Grow. Honestly, like I'm like a little embarrassed. I'm like, oh my God, look at their $20,000 trees. But those are the types of things that we appreciate, and that's it. Like, just the way that they make something look like it's been there. I'm always blown away. Yeah. It was just spectacular.
So it starts with like extreme visual stimulation, and then we sort of soak in the vibe, the music, the smell. Like, they have a lavender field there at Stanley Ranch. Right as you're walking down into this Olympic-sized pool with great F&B, like great drinks and great food. And again, when you're traveling with a young boy, we had 3 hours. And I fell asleep on the lounger and had a great
It was a really nice, just like we did, we drank rosé and we relaxed and pretended like we were child-free for 4 hours, and it was value, like for us the value was there. Granted, we spent money on food and beverage, so I think
you would be if you were staying there
you
too.
would be, yeah.
And so a lounger is like $100 for the day, and you have access to the whole property. And so if you want that experience, we have found that Resort Pass is one of the best things. When we go to Florida, if we rent a little house, we can go to almost any resort and have the vibe and experience of the resort, and this without the staying overnight and all this kind of stuff. So it's really cool. It's good access. And this is the other thing that has really like hit me, and I don't know why it took me this long, but at this conference we've been talking about luxury, and I think that access is luxury, right? And so access means a lot of different things to different people, but for me it's when I go to a market that I don't know. Like I know a little bit about San Francisco, but if we came here for 2 days, I would either be buried in my phone looking for recommendations, or if I knew someone who could give me access to things they know, that would make my experience.
Yeah.
And so as we think about that with our hotel collection, we have this one brand called Blind Tiger, and I think that even though it's not 5-star luxury, what I think we do really well there and what we've been developing is access. And so our hosts and all of the people we affiliate with and partner with in the markets give their unique perspective on what our guests should do.
How do you do that? Because I feel like is it how you hire, or like how do you pull that off?
Well, it's a couple things. One is the staff has to be phenomenal, and our original one in Portland, Maine, we have Tamara, who's our GM lead host, lives the brand. She lives the ethos.
She's helped us continue to develop and train and really, she's just
propagate that feeling out. But here's the thing that anyone can learn this if they stay at a Blind Tiger, so it's not telling a secret. Mm-hmm. But we partner with people in the communities to host rooms. So in Burlington,
and by partner we mean simply ask them to be our friends.
Okay.
And
just they're not getting anything out of it.
No, this isn't like a real
it's an access partnership. It's like these are the friends that you don't have in Burlington, Vermont, but we've made, and they will let you know what to do. So there's a 90s band called Guster, and the lead singer from Guster lives in Burlington. Meg met him out at a bar. We became friends. And so Ryan Miller hosts the Mr. Sun room because it's one of their big songs. And he has a welcome letter in that room that says, you have to go to the shitty dive bar. This is the place you want to go if you want a cold plunge. This is my favorite sidewalk cafe. And all of a sudden people have access, not only the connection to Ryan, even though it's only kind of ethereal, but they have access and connection to the community that they never would have had if we hadn't met Ryan in a bar.
And this is on a room level. This isn't
individual rooms.
Yeah, this is what we do that's our brand. It's what we do.
Passion.
It's our passion. Yeah, we love to. I think we just like to provide those connections.
It's
There's
old
a lot
school
of
too.
talk about like connection to a place and connection to people, but if you don't help facilitate that, you can't tell that story just through design. You can't tell that story just through your guests experience, people that you hire and hope that they'll give the good recommendations and not like first see you and ask you for your credit card as the first thing that they say. So we do some of that legwork because we like to, and it's fun for us, and we've gotten a lot out of it.
Where'd you get the idea for something like this? Because I feel everyone talks about creativity, and I honestly get a little bit jaded sometimes because they talk about it, and I'm like, but you're not doing anything creative. And I'm hearing just like creative idea after creative idea.
This was probably a cocktail.
Like,
what? It was developed out of like this is every good idea we have. It usually starts with one and is refined into much better by another.
Yeah.
So I think I was like, in Portland, we should name them Andrew's Room because this guy Andrew Volk is a prolific bartender there.
But
and
I
was
think
like, that's kind of creepy.
But it was even before that. We were talking about we were basically talking about what we were going to name the rooms, and that's sort of like the inception of the idea.
And
but we were talking about
name it after. We didn't want to name it after historic figures in the city. We don't want to name it the Longfellow Room because Longfellow is a historic figure in Portland. It has little relevance to our thesis of people coming to markets wanting to know where to go. And so we're like, why don't we name it after people in the city that we want to be friends with, that we would ask where you can go. But then Meg was like, well, no one wants to stay at Andrew's Room. They don't know what that means.
Well, no, I think we got pushback from our branding team. Like, what if
What if Andrew's no longer there?
We didn't.
What if Andrew has a bad connotation?
Yeah, and we were like, we still like it, but okay, fine. We'll go with what you say.
So we named it after his cocktail. So it's called
Green Ice.
Green Ice. And it was the cocktail that kind of put Portland on the map as a destination go-to. And so it was so cool asking these people if they would help us, because they were all like, yeah.
Him and I always like to do things like, you see, we're talking to you a little bit about extended stay and all this stuff. It was a stage in our life where we try to replicate like awesome travel experiences that we have, and our favorite thing is when we know somebody in the market already and they can tell us like, where were we?
Philly, and MP told us all the secrets of where to go.
The like legit speakeasy. It's
You
not
have
like
to
a
go
contrived
there.
one. It's like, this is the one, you knock on the door, you say the password, you go. And so we felt like, especially with this size property, which was our dream, by the way, like Blind Tiger Portland we had known this property forever. It was an absolute dream to
Meg
have
used to
that.
live next door to it, and it was very cool.
We bought it at auction.
Snorted. Sorry, I'm still excited.
You're still excited. Oh, sorry. And now I just okay. So yeah, we wanted to create this like almost like a social like connection for people, and we needed to do it in such a way that actually made people feel connected with real people that live there.
Yeah, really not a superficial thing. We wanted to make it like as real as possible.
That's where the ideas come from, though. It's really us like traveling and trying to create something close to home that is what we want, like where we want to travel, or the type of experience that we want to have, or like, again, like on this trip, noticing gaps in our experience that become ideas and opportunities, essentially.